Right, hello everybody, and welcome to the TT Institute, and welcome to the Institute's R&D week. This is Friday. And
Normally.
what are we reviewing today, Catherine?
We're reviewing Turn Left.
We are, and sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Nice.
So, Turn Left. What are your first thoughts, Catherine?
I thought it was quite a good character study of Donna Noble, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it does really explore what it would be like if the Doctor died. Like, what the world would actually be like.
Yeah.
And that isn't even the full extent of if the Doctor never existed. But it's just the case of the Doctor not existing from the Runaway Bride onwards. He died. Yeah. And seeing how the world... Literally, concentration camps became a thing again because of that, which is really, really comforting. That's comforting to hear. Yeah. But it's a good study on what life would be like, because that isn't really explored much in Doctor Who. A bunch of things are, but this sort of thing isn't as much, which I have to applaud Russell T Davies on.
Woo.
But yeah, so let's talk about the characters. So obviously, first of all, let's talk about the Woman of the Hour, Donna Noble.
Yeah.
What do you think of her performance, Catherine Tate's performance?
Yeah, I think it was really good, personally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she was absolutely excellent. She did really act at her best when she was interacting with Billie Piper in the climax, when they were discovering that beetle on her back.
Yeah.
She was brilliant in that performance.
Didn't they name the species or something?
I have no idea. I mean, afterwards, when she was asking the Doctor what it was, he said it was part of the Tricksters Brigade, which is a reference to Sarah Jane's Adventures.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And the Trickster is like this person that likes to alter time, so that kind of makes sense.
Marriage thing.
Yeah, and then there was another one, but anyway, yeah, that's Sarah Jane Adventures.
Whoa.
But yeah, so there was that unit woman, Captain Arisa Magumba. That wasn't the last time we saw her. We also saw her in that Planet of the Dead episode, the one with Lee Evans. So they like to recycle characters, which is cool. But we only really saw her briefly in this one.
Well, it gives continuity, realistically.
Yeah, it does, because it's like, where did this person go all of a sudden? She was working for UNIT. But yeah, I mean, okay, so what about Rose? What do you think of her character in this? Do you think she was used well enough? I mean...
I think she was a bit of a plot device, but it worked quite well.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, the confusion at the beginning and then the eventual, she basically takes on a bit of the Doctor's role towards the end.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I've heard this from a couple of people saying that it's a bit of a letdown, because remember, Billie Piper was hyped up to return all of the series, and some people were like, oh, she's just this character arc, this plot device for this episode, and she isn't even used much in the Dalek one, which, I mean, I can understand what they're saying, but I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. So what do you think of...
I think it worked in the context of the episode. Maybe if it hadn't been hyped up as much, it would have been fine. Yeah,
I mean, what do you think of how... I mean, I noticed that Donna's mum was such a different character by how she acted and how her character was altered by the situation she was in.
Yeah, she pretty much had an entire depressive episode.
I know, because she was saying how...
It made sense in the situation.
I know, she was being like, Donna's a disgrace and she hates life and everything, and it's a real different side to her. I mean, yeah, she's bossy and everything, but you don't see her being, literally, ultimately depressed.
Yeah.
You don't really see that side of her, that she's actually given up.
Makes her actually a little bit more human and vulnerable.
Yeah, I know. It's... I don't know, I mean... And also, Wilfred... Yeah. What's his name? Bernard Cribbins. Yeah. I think he was brilliant. He's probably
great.
I think he was really the hidden gem of the actors in this story. He was fantastic. When he was when Catherine Tate, when her character and Wilf, when the way they reacted when they found out that those other characters were being sent to a concentration camp, that was dark, and their performances were outstanding. Yeah, I know.
That's what they called them last time.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, damn.
I was like, damn, deep. That's pretty deep. Yeah, I mean, I like how they do references to past episodes, because it does kind of link the stories, links Doctor Who past episodes, like the Racnos episode, the Runaway Bride, sorry, and then obviously the Smith and Jones episode with the Jadoon, and then a bunch of others afterwards, like the adipose one.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool to see the other side of the situation, like looking at it, like using this situation that Donna's in as a way for the viewers to get a point of view from like some of the innocent bystanders that were in those situations.
Yeah.
You know, like seeing their view of the adipose invasion or whatever, and then seeing their view of how the Star was destroying London.
Yeah, but
and
it's
all
like
that.
literally like all those companions and spin-offs, they all died.
I know.
Which I was like,
Because
dear God.
I know, because there was that, because in the when they referenced Smith and Jones, they said how Martha Jones gave her life to save that one dude who told the story in the news, and also said how Sarah Jane and Clyde Langer and the other little girl, that how they died in action.
Yeah, but wasn't that an episode? Like, was Luke around by that point?
I feel like it might have been. I feel like it might have been paralleling series 4 of Sarah Jane Adventures, where like Luke went to college or something.
Yeah.
I don't know where Luke would come into the equation,
Poor
but
Lukey.
yeah, I mean, I mean, it's really interesting to see how dark the world would get
Yeah,
without the Doctor, because obviously, I actually said this when we were watching it. I really, really wish we saw the Torchwood's point of view of that Sontaran.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if it was there though, it would spoil the episode.
it would have been a bit out of place.
Yeah,
but I
it's a
feel
very
like,
Donna-centric episode.
or maybe they could have released like a little prequel episode where it's
Yeah,
just
like
like them
or a
doing the event.
mini episode.
Minisode, yeah, that would have been cool. I would have really loved to see
That
that,
would've been
because Rose said how Yanto Jones and Gwen Cooper died and Captain Jack was taken captive by the Sontarans,
Yeah, that would
which is mad. I would have loved to see that, even though it would have been the end of Torchwood, the show, which would have been really sad. I would have loved to see how that would have gone down.
Yeah.
I really would have, and I wish they could have like released a mini-sode just to please fans a bit more. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you picked up on this, but the whole beetle on Donna's back is definitely a reference to Planet of the Spiders, where Sarah Jane had a giant spider on her back for a while. There was that thing going on, Planet of Spiders.
I may have watched it, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, but
'Cause it sounds familiar.
yeah, but either way, I like how they did that little reference to a classic story, which they didn't do much of in the RTD era, which is cool. I feel like Turn Left. I did think about this when we were watching it. That I feel like it didn't need to happen, because there is my theory that all of the events of the episode were happening in Donna's head as she was in the seance. So I feel like the whole episode wasn't really necessary, and it felt a bit like, it does seem a bit like filler now looking at it that way.
Looking back at it, it seems like what was that episode during season 10? The one where it basically just all a simulation. It feels like that, but like really well executed version of that.
That is very true. Perfect. So I feel like, because Turn Left is always that story that everybody goes, oh, it was that really cool episode where they flipped the show on its head. But looking at it, it does feel like this one episode that they just tacked on because they needed an extra story.
Yeah, it was still a very good episode.
Oh yeah,
though.
and I like how the episode opens and closes when it's on this really exotic like marketplace on a different planet, because they don't really show many like casual adventures with the Doctor. They always show it where they're in danger,
life or death situation.
Yeah, I know. So I like how they did include that, and it does lead to that encounter with Donna. I don't know what the deal was with that woman who tried to lure her in there. It was a bit odd. I didn't really see anything of that come about anymore. The Doctor didn't even chase her. She just ran off, and we never even saw her again.
You're
so it was a bit...
so powerful.
I know, and then she ran off. It felt a bit out of place, her character, but at the same time it needed to happen for the story to exist. But yeah, I mean, they referenced how Donna has something on her back. They referenced it a couple times when people were looking at her and stuff like that. And throughout the episode, Rose kept popping up to guide her out of death, out of the way of death.
And there was a little bit of development on Rose's part, to be perfectly honest, because she went like from really quite confused about what was happening, and to actually like accepting her role and essentially acting as the Doctor figure in the episode.
Yeah, because first time we saw her in this episode, she was running. She was like shocked, thinking someone died, and then Donna broke the news that it was the Doctor that died from that from the Runaway Bride equivalent of the episode. So yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, to see that side of it, and obviously Rose does turn into the Doctor character, sort of, yeah. And we get another version of Donna's "oh my goodness, it's bigger on the inside" sort of situations, which is all right, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like how they included Unit. We did see a lot of Unit in series 4 of the show, which is cool.
But the idea of the TARDIS dying, that was really quite sad.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like, that has been done to death now in the new series, but it was good for it at its time. Yeah. Because it was a new idea, and it was like, holy crap, okay, this might actually be the end. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, like I say, I feel like it wasn't necessary to happen. Like, the show could have gone on, and the episode didn't need to happen. That's my only thing that I just keep coming back to.
It didn't necessarily. You could skip the episode, and it wouldn't really affect it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't feel bad. You wouldn't feel bad if you had to watch it, though, because it isn't a bad episode. It's well directed.
It's an episode that you could skip, but you don't want to skip.
No, exactly. I feel like it has no progression over the show apart from the Doctor finding out Rose is alive, even though we find that out in the Dalek episode next anyway. So I feel like it wasn't really necessary. They just stretched out that little development there just to make this episode prominent. But I don't know. You see, I mean, it was a good one because we did actually see a bit more of Donna's life, about behind the scenes of how she got to be a temp, even though she wasn't. Like, you know, how like she could have met Lance, and seeing how important her meeting Lance and falling in love with Lance, leading to the wedding, leading to her going to the TARDIS. You know, it is interesting to see that side of it, of how many stuff is implemented to make it. You know, how much stuff is important. You know, to lead up to her meeting the Doctor. Yeah,
and there's some really, I think, in terms of the funny joke bits, those are really well contrasted. They have a really funny joke bit, and they immediately like slam you into a dark section, like that Bohemian Rhapsody bit. It immediately stabs in gunfire.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh, that's a really good contrast.
Yeah, just having some lighter scenes really does make the darker scenes a lot more impactful, I guess.
Yeah, especially like bad mouthing Cliff. Just like, you don't do anything, you just sit there, Cliff.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor Cliff. He doesn't deserve that.
And then we find out the hospital's gone, and there's one survivor, so...
Donna doesn't even, properly
take
account of it, which is really weird.
Because she does realise that the star thing is a thing, and she's, shocked by it, I guess. Yeah. But then the hospital one... She was oblivious to it pretty much.
She was quite angry and
yeah, and she had other things going on, but all the same. And the same with the Voyage of the Damned, the Titanic. Yeah. She was like, that's not real. That's like a sci-fi movie. She was going, and then boom, London's gone. Yeah. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but that's like a normal reaction. You wouldn't go like, oh yeah, the Titanic's falling out of the sky. You would go like, what the fuck is this an actual thing that's happening right now?
Yeah, exactly. It's like this isn't real. Yeah. But yeah, I guess. I mean, it was a fantastically acted, fantastically written. It's just they should have made it more important to the overall story, because it didn't really need to happen. Because I mean, there is another point of view where it's like it literally did rewind time to that point and started again from that decision. There is that argument. So I guess it depends how you look at it, really, whether you consider it canon or not, if you know what I mean.
I feel like each event in the episode does serve a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely does. There is no redundancies in there.
No, because the interactions with Rose and Donna are very important to how they would bounce off each other with dialogue, or like in the Dalek episode, and seeing, and actually it's must be fascinating for viewers to just see companions who wouldn't usually meet each other, say like Sarah Jane and Captain Jack. You wouldn't really expect them to be talking to each other, because they're not really the same. They're not of the same era, are they?
No.
So you wouldn't expect them, and yet there they are talking. So
Like chill buds.
so it's fascinating. So it's fascinating for viewers to watch that.
Yeah.
And I think they did that deliberately. But it's cool to see Billie Piper try to fill the role of the Doctor for this story, like I say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it was an all right story. I feel like there are a lot of good ones in series 4. So I feel like this one does really take a back seat, which is a shame because people do overlook this one. But like I say, people could argue that it has no importance, but at the same time, it's still a good story. It's still a good episode.
Good story.
It's well produced. It's a good one, I'd say. So yeah, any last thoughts?
I thought it was very good. That's my general summary.
Right.
For that.
So I'm giving it a solid 8 out of 10. What do you give it?
Yeah, same. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. There you go. So, Turn Left. There you go. It was a decent story. There you go.
It was a good story. Yay, well done.
Right, so there was there was the review of Turn Left. Stay tuned for tomorrow where I review the 5 Doctors with Joe and Dylan. So see you later. Goodbye.
See you guys.